want to be the best in the game, invest in my name.
Everywhere you go. Have you seen Sean Strickland at all this week?
No. Some boys said they see him like running away from hotel fast after the media. The guy who said like he gonna shoot me, he gonna do this, that, and I don't know why he's still at the other hotels. And he was thinking like no one gonna control me, and the guy is not here. We control this guy.
You know, do you feel, what made you post the sparring footage yesterday, by the way? Why did you post that?
No, just I find old videos, some stuff, just post that. Because he's saying like, I spar only weak people, you know. And on the video, we spar easy, you know, like just touch sparring. It's not like 100% like usually I do. I like, because he said he doesn't want to spar hard. And when I started his hard, he was coaching like, Coach Eric, these guys starting to punch hard, you know, like he had some problems with his coach Eric too, because I was punching him hard, and he was always calling him like, yeah, can you stop this guy?
Round, third, fourth, fifth round is going to be fucking miserable for Khamzat Chimaev. Now, with all that being said, for Khamzat Chimaev taking on Sean Strickland, I'm going to have to go with Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat Chimaev has just shown more in his fighting style. I mean, what he did to DDP, what he's been able to do to Kamaru Usman. He has a certain way that he goes about his fights, which is he goes out there and he takes everybody down. Sean Strickland has never been manhandled or out-grappled, and I think Khamzat Chimaev can do it, but he's got to manage the gas tank. I've seen him train before, and sometimes it's good to train as hard as you can. It's so good to train hard. But sometimes when you train that hard, when it comes to fight time, he might be overtrained. But I am going to predict a finish for Khamzat Chimaev, and he's going to be dominant, beating Sean Strickland.
It's hard to say. Like, I definitely think he has an argument now, especially because he's beaten Imavov and because of the way he put away Fluffy. But honestly, it's anybody's guess. You know, it's anybody's guess. The title fights and like contenders and that whole conversation is just so, mate, random sometimes.
I mean, I know you've been in there with Khamzat, man, and Sean Strickland's taking defense is pretty good, but we haven't seen him in there against. Like, would you say Fluffy and Khamzat, it's two different levels when it comes to the grappling, would you say, like in terms of the way, the strength and yeah.
Absolutely night and day. Like, having been in there with Chimaev and seen, and everyone who saw what he did to Dricus, like it's not the same. It is not the same.
And do you believe he would have much of a shot against Khamzat after this performance?
The footage was never supposed to go public. Chimaev has just pulled back the curtain on what really happens behind closed gym doors, and Sean Strickland looks absolutely compromised. This isn't just about a bad training session. It is about a total collapse of the tough guy persona Strickland has built his entire career on. Chimaev claims that while the cameras were off, Strickland was desperately calling for help from his coach because the pressure was simply too much to handle. The man who talks about going to war was allegedly looking for an exit strategy the moment things got real. This leak has sent shockwaves through the MMA world, exposing a side of the former champion that fans were never meant to see.
Anyway, I was with Robert Whittaker and I asked him, I said, what's the deal with Khamzat, man? How strong does he feel? He said, well, number one, his shot is so fast, you just don't see it coming. Khamzat, as we know, he does shoot a double leg from quite far away. covers a lot of ground, gets a hold of the legs, and then, of course, he's got tremendous technique and he gets on top of you. And as we know with Robert Whittaker, he got the face crank and smashed all of his teeth in. He said, listen, that was an existing problem. I got into an accident when I was younger, so they were always kind of unstable and a little bit loose. But come on, let's be honest, you got to give it to Khamzat. He crushed the man's teeth in. So, of course, he's strong. But Whittaker does believe that Sean Strickland has a chance in this fight.
He raises that knee and then jabs you at the same time. His knee might be a deterrent for Chimaev shooting in freely. If Chimaev times it wrong, he's going to go straight into a knee. And no matter who you are, that's going to hurt.
And I do as well. If he can survive the first round or two, and it's such a cliched expression, but if Sean can survive the first round or two, never mind any of the emotions, or if he goes out there and doesn't fight an emotion, Strickland's always emotional. Khamzat's always emotional, and Khamzat's had some...
The security makes sense, a lot of intensity.
No, it doesn't make sense. You let a Neanderthal in this country who can't keep it together for 5 days. And the worst part about it is you're not even being a man and saying, hey, I'm going to fight you in the parking lot. You're saying my friends are going to fight you. So security's here, dude, because like you are the scum of the earth. And that's your answer.
Yeah. It has to make you feel like the president.
No, it just makes you, it reminds me that I'm fighting.
The tension didn't stay in the gym as it spilled over into the fighter hotel in a way that left everyone questioning what was really going on. Khamzat openly mocked the idea that Strickland is a fearless warrior, claiming that the American was seen sprinting away from media obligations just to avoid a potential confrontation. According to Chimaev, the man who threatened to pull a weapon on him was nowhere to be found when they were actually in the same building. It paints a picture of a fighter who talks a big game for the cameras, but relies on a massive security detail to keep a barrier between himself and the consequences of his words. This psychological warfare is clearly starting to take its toll before the cage door even closes. 3. Strickland isn't staying quiet about the situation, but his defense sounds more like a deflection of his own internal frustrations. He has lashed out at the heavy security presence, calling Chimaev a Neanderthal who is incapable of functioning in a civilized society for even a week. Strickland's argument is that Khamzat isn't actually a tough guy. He's just a protected asset who hides behind his friends and a presidential-level security team. He challenged Khamzat to a fight in a parking lot, claiming that the only reason they haven't settled things is that Chimaev lacks the dignity to handle business man-to-man. The verbal barbs are getting nastier by the hour, turning this into one of the most personal rivalries in recent memory.
Strickland has a style where he gets in his Philly shell style, he walks forward, he throws he has a beautiful jab. He probably has the best jab in all of, the UFC, right? And the thing that Sean Strickland does have is he does have great takedown defense, which is kind of crazy because he stands right up like a fucking Christmas tree, which, typically you want to be down a little bit, have a little bit lower center of gravity, but like I said, he stands up like a telephone pole. And then when you look at Khamzat Chimaev can't box. He has knockouts, he's got great kicks, he's got great boxing, but he tends to go out there and shoot his takedown from 16 miles away. But he's able to land it and out-grapple people. And he's very good about finishing people too. You look what he did to Robert.
Demetrius Johnson weighed in on the technical side of this disaster, and his analysis exposes a massive flaw in Strickland's defensive shell. While Strickland is known for his incredible takedown defense, DJ pointed out that he stands up like a literal telephone pole or a Christmas tree. In the world of high-level wrestling, having such a high center of gravity is usually a death sentence. It's a bizarre paradox that Strickland has been able to stay upright for so long. But against a specialist like Khamzat, that upright posture might be the very thing that leads to his downfall. DJ suggests that while Strickland's jab is arguably the best in the entire UFC, his refusal to sink his hips could leave him wide open for a double leg shot from across.
Third, fourth, fifth round is going to be fucking miserable for Khamzat Chimaev. Now, with all that being said, for Khamzat Chimaev taking on Sean Strickland, I'm going to have to go with Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat Chimaev has just shown more in his fighting style. What he did to DDP, what he's been able to do to Kamaru Usman. He has a certain way that he goes about his fights, which is he goes out there and he takes everybody down. Sean Strickland has never been manhandled or out-grappled, and I think Khamzat Chimaev can do it, but he's got to manage the gas tank. I've seen him train before, and sometimes it's good to train as hard as you can. It's so good to train hard. But sometimes when you train that hard, when it comes to fight time, he might be overtrained. But I am going to predict a finish for Khamzat Chimaev, and he's going
The secret to Khamzat's success has always been his terrifying explosiveness. And Robert Whittaker can attest to the physical damage that comes with it. Whittaker revealed that when Chimaev locked in that infamous face crank, the sheer force actually crushed his teeth and shifted his jaw. Even though Whittaker had existing dental issues from a past accident, the power required to do that kind of damage to an elite athlete is almost unheard of. It wasn't just a submission, it was a structural demolition of a human being. This revelation adds a layer of genuine fear to the matchup, as Strickland now knows that one wrong move in a scramble could result in permanent, life-altering facial injuries.
Now we know Khamzat is a force of nature. The wrestling is ridiculous. The power in the hands is phenomenal. The gas tank seems to have been solved, okay? Against Dricus, he went 5 rounds. However, caveat, he took down Dricus and he led on top of Dricus. I'm not saying he led on top of him just stalling. He was trying to finish. He was looking for submissions. He was putting him in a crucifix and trying to drop little elbows, and Dricus was burying his head and stuff like that. That kind of pace, though, where you're stifling someone on top, is not the same as being on the feet and engaging in a war 4 or 5 rounds. They're two very, very different things. And Sean Strickland, if he has the ability to stop the takedowns, which, by the way, he is very confident that he will, right? He thinks he can stop the takedowns. He thinks if he does get taken down, he will get back to his feet. He thinks he can even scramble on top.
But I think a part of him knows if we do wrestle, I'm just going to counter wrestle. I'll get up, I'll get on top.
Khamzat's decision to leak the sparring footage was a calculated move to prove that Strickland is a liar when it comes to his training room reputation. Chimaev claims that Strickland constantly tells the world he only spars with weak people to make himself look better. But the video tells a different story. In reality, when the pace started to pick up and the punches started landing hard, Strickland allegedly began complaining to coach Eric Nick Sick to get the session stopped. Chimaev is essentially calling Strickland a gym bully who can't handle it when someone finally punches back with equal or greater force. If these allegations are true, the mental edge is firmly in the corner of the Chechen monster heading into the fight.
That's gonna hurt.
And I do as well. If he can survive the first round or two, and it's such a cliched expression, but if Sean can survive the first round or two, never mind any of the emotions, or if he goes out there and doesn't fight an emotion, Strickland's always emotional. Khamzat's always emotional, and Khamzat's had some devastating performances, whether it was knocking out people with one shot, whether it was picking up Li Jingliang and having a conversation with Dana White saying, I'm going to kill everybody, or whatever it was.
I'm coming for everybody, kill everybody.
Or fighting Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns and slowing down dramatically, right? They weren't phenomenal performances, but the other ones were. But that did show a weakness, a perceived weakness. Now, granted, Dricus du Plessis, he kind of had the same issue as well, didn't he? Remember? But then he went out there and he got a nose job. And then all of a sudden, the man's killing 5 rounds. Now, remember, another fact is that Khamzat Chimaev, up until quite recently, was 240 pounds. Now, we see videos of him all over. He's done his training camp in Newport Beach, California at the Santos Studios. He's training with Sam Calavita, a very unorthodox strength.
The coaching dynamic at Extreme Couture is also being put under the microscope after these revelations. Chimaev mentioned that Strickland was having visible problems with his own coach during those high-intensity sessions. When the pressure got too high, the communication allegedly broke down, showing a lack of discipline when things stopped going according to plan. This is a massive red flag for any fighter, especially one going up against a relentless grappler who thrives on chaos. If Strickland can't stay on the same page with his corner when he's being pushed to his limit in the gym, there is very little hope that he will be able to maintain his composure in the championship rounds of a real fight. Michael Bisping has raised serious questions about the nature of Khamzat's cardio, noting that wrestling-heavy fights drain the gas tank in a way that striking matches simply don't. While Khamzat looked improved over 5 rounds against DDP, Bisping points out that he was mostly controlling the top position rather than engaging in a high-paced war. If Strickland can force Khamzat to work for every single inch of ground, we might see the return of the exhausted version of Chimaev that struggled against Gilbert Burns. This is the one path to victory that everyone seems to agree on. Survive the initial hurricane and hope that the storm runs out of energy before the 25 minutes are up. There is a perceived weakness in Khamzat's game that has been exposed in his previous bouts with Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. In those fights, his pace slowed down dramatically after the first 5 minutes, leaving him vulnerable to a fighter with a high output. Sean Strickland thrives in that exact environment, using his relentless jab to pick apart opponents who have lost their explosive edge. However, the counterargument is that Khamzat was much heavier back then, often walking around at 240 pounds. Now that he's working with specialist trainers and focusing on a more scientific approach to his weight, that cardio liability might have been completely eliminated, which is a terrifying thought for the rest of the division. Belal Muhammad didn't hold back when discussing his disdain for Strickland, even admitting he hates the guy so much he doesn't want to give him any credit at all. Still, he warned Khamzat that the biggest danger in this fight isn't Strickland's skill, but Khamzat's own emotions. With all the trash talk about families and personal lives, there is a high risk that Chimaev will come out too hot, hunting for a knockout and blowing his gas tank in the process. Belal's advice was simple: don't let the clown get into your head. If Khamzat stays disciplined and uses his wrestling strategically instead of emotionally, he believes the fight won't even be competitive. But that's a big ask for a fighter as volatile as Chimaev. The disrespect coming from Chimaev's camp has reached an all-time high, with Khamzat claiming that Strickland isn't even a significant challenge for him anymore. He pointed out that since DDP has already beaten Strickland twice, a victory over Strickland wouldn't actually prove anything to the world. He's already looking past this matchup, calling out Alex Pereira and even talking about moving up to heavyweight. Khamzat sees Strickland as just an old name that has lost its luster, a gatekeeper standing in the way of much bigger